Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Sarcastic Remarks. This is our third episode in as many nights, but this is our Wednesday night episode where we really dig down into some of the topics from the past week. Along with Chris and James, my name is Ryan. We are the official Dallas Stars podcast of THPN, and please go and support our sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook. Use that promo code THPN next time you use their services. Hey
And
guys, how are y'all doing?
new plug, go to our website, sarcasticremarks.com. It's super cool.
Chris has been doing a really good job, mostly because he's bored at work and there's like nobody on campus right now. But he has put out 3 blog posts in 3 days, and he's never done writing before. So he's doing a fantastic job with that.
Not never. That's not true. When I was 12, I wrote an article for our local newspaper, and it was published. So,
I'm curious. What was it about?
It was about, I think it was about the Japanese tsunami. It was like a researched, like
for the gifted and talented program.
Yeah,
I know exactly what he's talking about.
I won.
That's funny.
I'm a winner.
So, James, how are you doing? You doing okay?
Doing pretty good. I actually made everyone about 2 minutes later because I was watching a movie with the family. So,
what movie?
My apologies. We were watching Home Alone.
I mean, it's a classic. That's one of my favorite Christmas movies. Fantastic. Anyways, we got a lot to talk about. There's quite a few things that kind of happened around the NHL. Then the biggest thing happened last night, in my opinion. And we'll wait to talk about it here in a second. I'll show you my feelings on that. But we've got some goalie stuff to talk about. Save percentage is down. We've got some Ovechkin talk to talk about. Some playoff format stuff, and then obviously Bo Horvat with the craziness that's going on. He's been the most talked about commodity in the past couple of days. And then we'll get specifically into some Stars stuff, which is really the stuff we want to talk about. We'll talk about Nils Lundqvist and how good he's been lately, and is he worth the first round pick that the Stars gave up for him? We'll also talk about ESPN naming the Robo Rupski line. I can't say it right, sorry. Or the Minutemen or the Avengers or whatever you want to call them. As the best line in the NHL. ESPN actually came out and said that. So we'll talk about a little bit of that. And then obviously we got to talk about Gurianov. And then we'll try to get to some trade targets, because recently the Stars have been in the rumors looking for a top 6 forward, and it's so obvious that there's a gaping hole on that side next to Sagan and Marchment. So we'll get into that a little bit, you guys. Let's just go ahead and start with the NHL stuff. Is there something specific that y'all wanted to talk about first?
I want to talk about Ovi first.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, I'm doing it. Ovechkin, in classic Ovechkin style, scores his 800th career goal on the 3rd goal of a hat trick against the Chicago Blackhawks last night. Can you imagine anything more Ovi? The only thing that would have made it better is if he scored it on the power play from his office. But it was great. I loved it. I was thinking, when you said that last night, that we might see Ovi's 800 against us, I was like, well, now he's for sure scoring a hat trick.
Yeah, that's what I was like. There's no way we're seeing it now.
So it's all my fault. I guess I jinxed it.
Exactly.
Well,
you ruined
it might have been inevitable either way, but
right, that's what I was thinking. Well, here's the thing. At least we didn't get to see the 800th goal against the Stars, which I know that's crazy to talk about, but I mean, we will never see something like this in our lifetimes again. Like, we will never. I doubt we will see somebody be able to eclipse the number of goals that Ovechkin has been able to do. And the fact that he's done it so consistently and so well is a testament to his conditioning and how good of a player he really is. And right ahead of him is Mr. Gordie Howe, Mr. Hockey, Mr. Detroit Red Wings. He played for, golly, I think he played till he was 52. Let's just say that. He played till he was 52. That's stupid.
And what's even weirder is his goal number should be higher because he played for the WHL for a long period of time. Like
WHA.
Sorry.
Yes. Sorry, I know too much about that. But it is what it is. And if you included his stats from the WHA with his NHL stats, he's way, he's way he would have over 1,000 goals. So it's crazy. But anyways, it's still really fun to watch that. And Mr. Gordie Howe is only one ahead of Alex Ovechkin. So we might see the tying goal and maybe even the go-ahead goal when it comes to the record for Alexander Ovechkin. Absolutely incredible. I mean, I don't know what else we're supposed to say about the guy other than he's literally the grade 8. I think he's going to go down in history as that being his nickname.
Yeah. And for, I know all of us kind of grew up with him, but we grew up and started watching hockey during the Ovechkin Crosby era. I mean, that's really what started hockey for us is Ovechkin and Crosby. They were the big faces in the NHL. And there's really you can't say anything about Crosby. He's the best winner of this era. He has won everything and was the leader in everything he won too. But Ovechkin, he was the best player. He was the best hockey player of the era that we grew up watching hockey in. So I think we're always going to have even a more special place in our hearts. So Dad always talks about how he loved Darian Hatcher, and that was the guy that he always idolized on the Stars when he first started watching. I think we're going to feel the same way about Alex Ovechkin whenever we grow up.
James, what do you think about watching him? And I mean, I think I've watched a little bit more than y'all have, especially because when he was drafted, I was in middle school. So especially I got to see him more. I remember more of it. But James, what do you remember of some of your memories of Alexander Ovechkin? What's something that sticks out to you maybe?
Really, to me, it's just insane that he just keeps getting older. And I'm like, eventually he's going to stop scoring. And he just doesn't. He's found his spot on the circles and he can give a slap shot harder than anyone in the league. It's insane how many slap shots that you see from him that just literally go through goaltenders.
And that's the other thing about his game too, is that he evolved it, because when he first started playing in the NHL, when he won the Calder, he was scoring goals off his back and just running over people the entire time. And he's totally flipped his game around to where he's playing a full 2 minutes on the power play as what is he, 37?
Yep.
The 37-year-old, he's just standing still in the power play and is still the best power play goal scorer ever. That's right, unbelievable.
And it's like, it's not like it's unpredictable, right?
Yeah,
like
it's totally
you know what's going to happen. Like, you know what's going to happen. It's just like Pavelski with his ability to tip the puck. You know what's going to happen, and he's going to be able to tip the puck, and there's nothing you can do about it because he's just that good. But Alexander Ovechkin is even more to an extent, like, there's literally nothing you can do about it.
It's unstoppable.
He can literally just he can stand there, and people can just feed him the puck, and the goalie knows it's coming. He could already be over there, and Ovechkin is still able to score the goal. It's ridiculous.
He's so good that when the Stars penalty kill against him, we just take the 4v3. And we just have someone sit on Ovechkin, and they're just like, okay, you'll have the free ice. He still scores on us sometimes.
Yeah. So I just thought that was extremely noteworthy because, I mean, we kind of talked about it right before we went live, but I don't think we're ever going to see this again. I know some people said that about Gretzky and everything like that. No one's going to ever eclipse his goal total. And I think it's just a matter of when rather than if he does it. I think he's going to do it. I mean, he hasn't shown any signs of slowing down with his goal scoring. Maybe with some other things he has, but with his goal scoring, it hasn't slowed down.
Yeah, so it was crazy because people thought he was slowing down because he only had 2 empty netters in the last 5 here to 800, and then he adds the hat trick night. It's like, no, he's not slowing down at all.
Right.
Yeah, and that was one thing I wanted to mention too, is that he was getting a lot of crap for, the goals he's scoring now are just empty netters, and then he does this. He goes out and scores 3 against Mrazek, and it's like, oh, screw it. So, anyways, congratulations to him, and we'll see him tomorrow night against the Stars, and we'll see if he can get to 801 or possibly even 802. Anyways, continuing on, save percentage across the league is going down, and that's nothing surprising for me, at least, but something that we've seen a lot lately is just goaltenders getting shelled. And obviously we've seen these 9-7 games and these, 9-2 games and 8-4 games and some ridiculous numbers like the Edmonton Calgary game 1 that we saw. It was like, I think it was 9-7. It was a playoff game, but anyways, the average save percentage in the NHL since 2015-2016 has been going down pretty dramatically. It was 915 was the average in the NHL in 2015-2016. And now so far through the first 30-ish games of the season for most teams, we're down to a 904. So what are y'all's thoughts about that? Good thing, bad thing, it's whatever.
That's just plain cause and effect of what the NHL tried to do, which was increase offense, which was needed, especially since you think about how the Stars won the Stanley Cup. They're winning games 2-1 the whole time. You don't want that. And I think right now it's in a good place where they've increased the offense. They've made all these little rule changes. And I think, honestly, the big one might even be the offsides rule, that you can have your skate off the ice and still be on sides. Like, that might have just been the piece of straw that broke the camel's back, because we've seen rule changes and equipment changes for the past 10 years to try and increase scoring. And it feels like finally the past 2-3 seasons, it's fully come to fruition.
Mm-hmm. And for the save percentage specifically, I feel like it's a little bit skewed right now, because we are getting those 9-8 games, crazy high scoring games like that. But we still have a game like last night where it was what was the
basically
final
2-1.
Yeah,
it was
it
basically
ended up being like 2-1. Both goaltenders ended with well over 900 on the save percentage side. There were 30 shots on each side. I mean, there's still these games like this. There's just also other nights where teams just decide they're not going to play defense, and both teams take 20 shots and there's 8 goals. So
here's a question that kind of comes to mind when we talk about this particular subject. Are the goalies getting worse, or are the skaters getting better, or is it like a mix of both? Or is it neither?
I would say neither. I think the skaters are getting more help by the rules, by the equipment, by the penalties, how the rules are enforced. I think all of it is put into their favor, and we're like, we want to see points. And that's exactly what's happened. I think it's in a good spot now.
Yeah, and it's also the whole league is moving towards more of the rush style now that we saw the Avalanche use most of the year last year. I mean, they're really pushing rush chances, and it's not often that you have the cycle goals that go in. I mean, the Stars do it a lot, but a lot of these teams are scoring on the rush, and that's pretty much it. I mean, that's what the Jets are doing this season. They're scoring on every other rush chance they get, and then they're just playing defense like crazy.
Well, and that's what the bonus Stars did, and I would argue that's what we're doing now, to be honest with you. When you look at the Stars, we're 32nd in O-zone possession time. Now, I would probably think that it's gotten better, especially over the past couple of games. We've kind of seen that cycle game a little bit more, especially on the road. The past 2 games have been excellent watching that style of play and watching them be able to play that style. But here's my thought for the question. I think the game's getting younger, and I think that's why we're seeing more goals, because there's younger guys. It's a young man's game now. Some of these veterans, these older guys, are getting pushed out, with the exceptions of, like, you know, the Crosbys of the world, the Ovechkins, Pavelski, you know, those kind of guys. And when you have younger guys like this, they're faster, but they're more likely to make mistakes. So I think that leads a lot of it. And so I actually don't think it's either one. I think it's just the fact that we see more younger players and they're making more mistakes.
Yeah, it's kind of the risk reward thing. So higher reward with a young player and a lot more risk.
All right, let's move on to the Board of Governors meeting that was held in Florida. Now, they talked about several things, but the one I wanted to talk about here was about the playoff format. And we've seen over the course of the past couple of years, gas for the win. We've seen over the course of the past couple of years that professional sports are extending the amount of teams that make the playoffs, right? So we saw NBA kind of add in a wild card sort of thing, and Bettman was asked a very similar question, and he says that there's absolutely no plans to extend the playoff format and just to keep it 16 teams and then the way that it is at this point. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with him? Do you disagree with him? What's your thought process?
Thank goodness is my thought process.
Yeah. I like the way it's set up now. just for me, it looks nice when you have 32 teams and half of them make the playoffs and half of them don't. Even half is kind of a lot when you think about a league. Half of the league is getting into the playoffs every single year. I mean, you're talking college football, they only take the top 4 right now. That's like
In
that's like no
baseball,
one.
they take like the top quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking about was the MLB. The MLB barely takes any teams into the playoffs.
So right now, there's still like you can still get those Cinderella stories, like how we went to the Cup Finals in the bubble playoffs, and then the Canadians did it the year after that. You still get these really big runs of teams getting really hot, but you're not. I don't feel like you're losing a lot when you do it this way. I mean, you're still getting the amount of playoff games that you are, and it's like over a month, and that's it.
And the flip side of that point, James, that makes me know that 16 is the right amount is you also get some really bad teams that get into the NHL playoffs. So, I mean, last year we saw, who was it? The Predators got into the playoffs last year.
Got destroyed. It wasn't even close.
They were not a playoff team. That was not a playoff hockey team.
Now, and
obviously there was. Yes, I'm going to
Saros,
do that point.
Yeah,
Saros was hurt. Okay, obviously. If Saros is in net, they still lose in 6.
Yeah,
no doubt.
There's no way they were going to win that
6.
series.
So they were just not a good enough team to be in the playoffs. So if we're getting those Cinderella stories some year like James is talking about, and then other years we're getting teams that shouldn't even be sniffing the playoffs, then I think that's a good place to stop. That's where you want to be.
And the reason why it's good is because you're only getting, most of the time when you get those teams that just get destroyed, it's always against the best team in the league, pretty much. It's normally the top of the division that's just like completely blows them out. And honestly, they won the top of the division. Sure, they basically get a bye.
Yeah. Unless there's the Cinderella thing happens, which is why hockey playoffs are the best playoffs in existence.
I put March Madness up there too. It's a lot of fun to see some of these
March
Madness
is
go.
fun. It's not the best playoffs because it for sure does not crown the best team.
That is fair too. That is fair. Ardell's kind of reading my mind here, and this was my next thought. Do you guys like the NHL divisional playoff system and the way they've got it right now? So the way they've had lots of different ways they've done the 16 teams.
Explain what the most recent one was before what we have now.
To be totally honest with you, I don't really remember.
I'll explain it. So, so what they did is your top 8 teams would get in each conference. It didn't matter about the divisions. And then when you go through the playoffs, it wasn't bracket style. So if the number 1 team won and then the number 8 team lost, it doesn't matter who the number 8 team went against. So, okay, here. That was a bad explanation. So you know how the wildcard teams, we talked about last year how, we kind of want to get in the second or in the first wildcard spot. That way we can play against the Pacific Division part of the bracket because we thought that would be easier. In the previous one, that doesn't matter because it reseeds after every round. So every single round, the best team would play the worst team that's left. And that's how it went on. And more recently, it's bracket style. So once your teams are set in the bracket, the top team plays the bottom and next and next and next, obviously. Then it just goes on the bracket. There's no reseeding. You just play the team that's next to you on the bracket. I like that a lot more because it creates the divisional rivalries. I mean, the things that we saw, Stars and Blues, huge. The big thing with the Stars for forever was we can't get past the Blues. Penguins and Capitals, crazy. I mean, the rivalries there are nuts. The Toronto-Boston.
Yeah, that's my favorite one.
Huge rivalry. I mean, because you're playing in your division, and it makes those games so much fun. So those huge rivalries don't come up unless you're playing with that bracket style.
And honestly, for some of it, it'll set some of the games in different time zones as well. So you can end up where, I don't know, like the whole East Coast ends up the only ones left in the playoffs, and then you have no other times. It fixes some of that because then you can get some Canadian teams further into the playoffs like we've seen in the past few years. Whereas maybe if we had the full reseed every time, you can knock them out quickly.
Yep. James bringing in the capitalism.
So y'all like the way that it's being done right now?
I love it.
I am kind of on the fence about it. I'm leaning more towards it. There's a huge push right now to just do it what it used to be. like you said, Chris. So 1 through 8, first team plays the 8th team, but no reseeding still.
It's
So it's
just
kind of like the old
Toronto
format,
not
but not
wanting.
exactly.
It's just Toronto not wanting to have to play the Lightning in round 1.
That's literally it.
That's literally it. That's the whole thing. They lose to the Bruins or the Lightning in round 1 for the past however long. And if it's the other way, then they get to play like, I don't know, the Senators or the Red Wings.
And to play devil's advocate, Ardell is right. If you want to pull up his comment, it does make it so that good teams can get knocked out early, and that is 100% true. And that goes against what I complained about in March Madness, how it doesn't let the best team win. I think you need to have a combination between making the best team win and making good matchups. So I think there's a combination there between entertainment and competitive fairness.
And also with the way we have the playoffs now, it makes the regular season more interesting. Before you just kind of, you just play everyone 3 times, right? Is pretty much what would happen. You wouldn't, and even if you have the same divisional points, then it's kind of skewed on the point side if you're still playing in your division only. But you get these big games that come up. I mean, I always want to go to a Predators Stars game every single time they come around. Every single time. I love going to those games because I hate the Predators and I love beating them.
Yep. And you hate the Predators because you play them in the playoffs and because you're fighting them in the wild card spot. And
every year,
this playoff system leads to those rivalries, and that's something I don't think you were getting as much of in the old system. The old system, you'd get the rivalries because there's no salary cap. You'd get the Detroit-Dallas rivalry just because they had the most money. I mean, they wouldn't work the same way in the salary cap era that it did in the luxury tax era, I'll say.
Well, and it definitely creates more within the fans rather than the players themselves, I feel.
100%.
So
some people have been pointing at this and saying, oh, well, the good teams are going to get knocked out early and everything. But I want to look at the playoffs last year and how well it went last year. I mean, how many game 7s did we see in that first round? I mean, how amazing was that? That was so much fun to watch all of those game 7s. And even though we lost our game 7, it was still so much fun to watch because of the amazing hockey.
Yeah.
There
we lost ours. I went and watched another game 7.
Yeah. And that's what you live for as a hockey fan, is those game 7 moments. I mean, that's what you live for when you're when you're a kid, and then when you go to become a professional hockey player, those are the moments you live for. Those game 7 moments, and like, I don't know. And it doesn't mean as much if it's against a team that you don't normally play in the playoffs. So, for example, that the goal in game 6 that Klingberg scored against the Predators that sent us to the second round for the first time in a long time, that was absolutely huge. And lots of people will continue to look back at that goal and say, yes, that was one of the greatest goals. You could also look at the Winter Classic and say the reason why that game was so amazing was because they decided to put 2 teams who they knew don't like each other against each other in a big game where there's no other game going on. Like, all the focus of the hockey world and the NHL is on that game. So I think the way they're doing it is fine. And from a divisional standpoint and from a marketing standpoint, it makes it way easier for the first round for the NHL. Because then you could tell your advertisers and say, hey, these 2 teams really don't like each other. There's going to be a lot of people who watch this Bruins, Maple Leafs, Dallas, or Montreal, Boston, even to a certain extent as well. So it makes it easier for the NHL to market those games, and they rack in more money. So
I think it probably creates more diehard fans too. I mean, when you lose 2 times in a row to the same team, you're going to start hating that team. And if you start hating another team instead of only liking your team, then you're all in. That's when you're done. That's when you're a hockey fan.
And those players just naturally, when it's a divisional game, because they hate that team.
You can feel it.
They play better. Like, both teams play better for the most part. They play better when they're against those teams. So that's my whole feeling on it. But any other thing y'all want to talk about there?
Don't change it. I will fight for it forever.
Yep, I agree. I don't want to change it. So I just know a lot of people lately have been saying, oh, we need to change it or whatever. So, okay, so we're going to get kind of seamlessly transition from NHL stuff to Stars stuff. And we're just going to go ahead and talk about Bo Horvat, and maybe we could include Brock Besser in this on a little bit. But the Vancouver Canucks are a complete tire fire right now. And the rumor is Bo Horvat was offered a contract. It was like 8 years, much less than $8 million, which he was expecting a big contract. This is when he can cash in. And he rejected it and basically told the Canucks, screw y'all, I want to be traded, and I'm going to be testing the free agent market. And that's what it seems like right now. So I don't know how much y'all have paid attention to the Bo Horvat situation, but would Bo Horvat be a player that you would consider trading for as GM of the Dallas Stars?
Absolutely. And if you're not considering it, you're an idiot. And we know Jim Neal's not an idiot. So he has 29 points in 28 games on a terrible Canucks team. He's doing fantastic. Can you imagine if his line mates were Tyler Seguin and Mason Marchment? Oh my goodness, he's gonna look like Jason Robertson. I do have one question. I didn't look at this before we started. Does he have a no trade clause?
It's a good question. I can look it up real quick. I'll look up.
Yeah, because that's gonna tell me a lot. Because the other player that I wanted to talk about,
I don't think
that
he
was in
does.
Stars trade news was Patrick Sharp. No, not Patrick Sharp. Oh my gosh,
Wait, we're going back 7 years?
I was going correlation. Patrick Kane. Patrick Kane, because he's on the trade block too, but he has the no trade clause, and it sounds like he wants to be traded to someone that he can immediately sign an extension with, kind of like the Kachuk talks. And if that's the case, we're not getting Patrick Kane. The end. We don't have space for a Patrick Kane beyond this. We are going to sign our Rope Hint soon, so we need that money.
We already did sign Rope Hints.
You're right, but we don't have the
we
money.
We don't have the money.
It is officially,
yeah.
There you go. So unless he took a massive pay cut, he's not going to play for the Stars.
He does not have any no move clause, no trade clause, no nothing.
Okay, yeah. So that makes it much more likely, in my opinion, that we get him as a rental. And before we go any further, even though we've already gone pretty far, the Stars are not going to trade for a player that is going to play beyond this year. It is going to be a literal, pure rental, and that's going to be the end of it. It's going to be exactly what Zuccarello did.
Yeah, we have too many players coming up through our I can't think of the words.
System.
We have too many. System. Thank you, goodness.
System.
We have too many players coming up through our system to sign a big deal like that now. I mean, we already have the Robertson and the Heiskanen and Hintz. We're going to be looking for the young players to start to get in on this too.
Yeah, and we're going to have to sign Johnston, and even he's not in the NHL, but Stankoven. I mean, as soon as he gets in the NHL, it's going to be a year or two, I think, of his entry-level contract left, and he's going to be up again, and it's going to be time to sign him. And if he is anywhere close to as good as we think he's going to be, they're going to cost a lot of money.
They don't lose a year of their contract until they actually play professionally. So technically, he has not played professionally yet. I think so. He still has 3 years. Yes, it's 3.
Stankoven does.
But Stankoven only has 2.
Yes, but here's my next question: is I personally would love Bo Horvat. I mean, it's a guy. He's 27. He's in the prime of his career. Yes, I don't see him as a long-term solution for the Stars, but I think he would want to come to the Stars if he knows he's going to be a rental anyways, because then he can go to the free agent market and probably really rack in the cash there and really command what he really wants. But the big $1 million question is, what are you willing to give up, and who is just I will not trade this player.
Yeah. So first of all, you have to give up, or I guess the way I should say it, the Canucks have to take cap space. So you're giving up either a Gurianov or a Fox at least, if not both. More than likely.
I wouldn't think so, personally.
Probably not both. I agree. Probably not both. They probably wouldn't take both. But at least one of them. You're gonna give up at least a second-round pick and a prospect. They might demand a Stankoven or a
Bork.
Who's our third guy?
Bork,
yeah.
Maverick Bork.
Which I feel like we have been recently in the trade department. We've been kind of handcuffed by having those prospects on our team. like we were when we wanted to trade for dang, everyone's name is escaping me. The defenseman who's really good this year is playing on the Sharks. Carlson. When we wanted to trade for Carlson,
no,
they would only take Heiskanen, and we obviously weren't going to trade Heiskanen. And so I feel like we were kind of in a similar situation there, where they might demand one of those three, and we're not going to give them. So if it comes down to a Gurianov, a second-round pick next year, which, man, that draft will be dry at that point, and then like a Stranges or a Tufte or a Hanley, I think that's when I would make the trade.
You want to give away our 7th defenseman?
No, never giving up our 7th.
No, not Hanley. Harley. Sorry, Harley. Our
yeah, I thought that sounded weird.
I knew what you meant. Okay, well, here's my thought process on all of this is I think Gurianov has to go the other way no matter what, just to make the cap work. And I also think that they're probably going to ask for Bork. I think they understand that Stankoven is off limits at this point. And you have to remember that Vancouver is kind of handcuffed at this point too, because it's either they trade the guy away and at least get something for him,
they get nothing,
or they get nothing at all and he just walks, which that sounds like he's going to do anyways, regardless of whether he stays with Vancouver or whether he leaves the team that he gets traded to. So,
and
that,
honestly,
that helps a little bit, but sorry, go ahead, James.
There's one other player that we haven't mentioned, and that's Hudobin. I mean, he didn't look great at the beginning of the season, but he had a good November down in Cedar Park, and Demko hasn't looked sharp for the Canucks this year. So they might bite on it. I doubt it, but you might get that might be where your cap space comes from instead of Gurianov and Faksa.
Well, at that point, he's only accounting for 1.5 of our cap space right now, right? So if you get rid of him, you only
at least 2, because aren't we paying him 3?
We're paying him like 3, and because of the way that he was put in the minors, I think a part of his cap is against our cap. I think it's like 1.125 or something like that, and that's only up against our cap, and the rest of it's buried. So
2 makes it close, but I think the only way they would take Hudobin is to free up cap space for us. It wouldn't be because they want a goalie for 1 year, because again, he only has 1 year on his contract. I think that would just be that basically be us having to give them something for them to take Hudobin as well.
I think what ultimately is going to come for the Stars is I think it's going to be, and I think what I'd be willing to give up is I'd be willing to give up Bork. I'd be willing to give up Gurianov, and then probably a 2nd round pick even, and then expect like a lower round pick from Vancouver in return. Now, I don't know if that makes the cap work, so that they may have to have some finagling going on there. But I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh no, how dare you give up on Bork? Dude, we've got Wyatt Johnston, we've got Logan Stankoven, who hasn't even played in the NHL yet. And I don't want to give up Harley specifically for the reason that our decor, especially when it comes to the prospect pool, is very low right now. And I know we went out and got a whole bunch of defensemen in this past year's draft, but they're nowhere close to being ready, even to play professionally. So I don't think it would be in the Stars' best interest to trade out a defenseman in order to get another forward, which I don't know. What do you think?
I just think Harley's done. That's why I threw him in there. And I think we talked about how the NHL is going to more offensive forwards are more important. I think overall, if you get one superstar, if you get one Jason Robertson, boom, you're automatically the 2nd best offense in the league, which we are right now. I mean, just because Robertson decided to go off this year. So if you get somebody like that, you're automatically a cup contender. So just to have 3 guys instead of just 2 that have the chance of doing that is huge, I think. So I don't want to give up Bork. I think I might if they take the pick off the table, or we trade a 2nd and get their 3rd, something like that.
We probably get back a 4th or a 5th, to be honest with you. That would be maybe even lower.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I value Bork more highly than you do. I think is what I'm saying.
No, and no, yeah, don't take what I said that way. I highly regard Bork as a great prospect. It's just that we're stacked up on offense right now. I feel like that's our best part of our system right now.
Yeah.
We're kind of low in
Statistically, that is
goaltending.
absolutely true.
Right, yeah. So I would be willing to give up a prospect in that pool in order to get better at forward now, if we're really going for it. And Bo Horvat, I think, puts us over the top. And those top, I mean, can you imagine having Bo Horvat on that line and then being able to roll all 4 of the lines that they've got? Because the first line has looked great, the third line has looked great, the fourth line has looked great. It's always that second line that's always been kind of meh. Even with the Landry on it, as good as he's been, they haven't lived up to their full potential. And I think Bo Horvat puts them over the top.
That's definitely true. It's just, and like you're convincing me right now as we're talking, but it's just hard for me to give up a player like Bork for 2/3 of a season of Bo Horvat, no matter how good he's playing. He's playing exceptional. 100% agree. But man, I mean, 15 years of Bork maybe is what you're giving up for 2/3 of a season. That just seems so hard.
Yeah. If they ask for Stankoven, I'm hanging up the phone immediately.
Stankoven, I think,
Stankoven
is
is
off the table.
No,
Johnson,
off the table.
I think, is absolutely off the table. I think Bork is definitely the one that's most likely. I think you're right there, Ryan.
So let's just seamlessly transition into other things. But who are some other players that you think the Stars should be looking at? I don't know how much research y'all did specifically on somebody, but I know, Chris, you had one in particular that I knew you want to talk about.
I've got a couple, actually. So
let's just go through your list first then.
Bo Horvat's the sexy pick. And what do we know about Jim Nill?
He doesn't go for the sexy pick.
He doesn't go for the sexy pick. He never does.
Not lately. He did when he went for Patrick Sharp and Jason Spezza and Tyler Seguin, but he doesn't do that anymore. He likes where we're at.
He's an old man. He doesn't go for the sexy picks. Let's look at some not so sexy picks. All right, we're going to Chicago. The Beantown. There you go. I was thinking of its nickname. I found it.
You mean the Windy City?
The Windy City. There. Okay. Max Domi. Max Domi is quietly having a sneaky good season. 20 points, 27 goals on a Chicago team that is even worse than the Canucks. And a key stat that I want to point out on Domi, his shooting percentage is astronomically high right now. His shooting percentage this year, 17.9%. He's not shooting because nobody's giving him the puck. If somebody could just give him the puck, he would score so much more. His cap hit is also lower, so you don't have to have Chicago take as much stuff. So you might be able to give them just a Hudobin. You hold on to Gurianov and Faksa. They take Hudobin. Domi fits in the lineup easier with the cap space. Yeah, I like this pick. I think Chicago is more likely to take a lower deal because they're already going to be trading. It's looking like 4 players right now. So I like playing with Chicago a lot better than I do with the Canucks, who look like they have one piece that they're going to trade this season. I like Max Domi.
The thing
pick. Go ahead, James.
Well, the thing with if we're trading with Chicago is they're going to want draft picks or prospects right now.
Yeah.
So they're not going to take anything else in terms of compensation for it. They're going to want draft picks or prospects.
Yeah. They're going to want Bork or Stankoven or Francesco Arturi or whatever.
You're trading a Hudobin because you need the cap space. So you're going to give them even a little bit more for taking Hudobin. They're not taking Hudobin and being like, yay, we got a great goalie. They're not happy about it, but they have to take it to make the trade happen. But I think if they are going to trade for Max Domi, if they are demanding Bork, that's all they get. They're getting Bork and nothing. Because Max Domi is not the sexy pick here. Bo Horvat is on like a career year right now. Max Domi, he's playing good. He's not playing career year. He's
playing with Patrick Kane.
He's playing with Patrick. Yeah, he's playing with Patrick Kane and Taves. And what was I going to say? You distracted me.
Sorry, Chris.
And they have so many things they're trading already. Like, I don't think they don't need the best deal possible on this one because they got 3 other chances to get the best deal possible too. Does anyone else have any thoughts before I go to my next guy? I'm talking a lot.
That was my only thought, was that he's playing with Patrick Kane. So when he comes to Dallas, he's not going to play with a demanding superstar like Patrick Kane. So I don't think that he's going to have the same point totals, and I have no idea if he's going to be able to glue together with Mason and Tyler.
And I agreed with you until I saw his shooting percentage. His shooting percentage is ridiculous. I need to go look into his stats. That might be the blog post tomorrow, because I bet his expected goals is stupid high. Well, actually, it's probably stupid low because he's scoring all of them because the shooting percentage is so high.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I mean, so he has one more point than Patrick Kane that he's playing on the line with. He has about 40 less shots than him in terms of that. So, I mean, he is executing more on what he's getting, at least.
And if you get him and you tell him to shoot more, I think he's scoring more.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Kane has a 4.2 shooting percentage on 90 shots, and he has the 17.9 on 50.
And my only other thing about Max Domi is that he's playing in an elevated role with Chicago right now. If you look at the other stops that he's made over the course of his career before this year, he was with Carolina, where he did not really work out all that well. Before that, he was with Montreal, who he did okay. He actually did pretty well, I think like his first or second year or something like that. And then he dropped off. And then, so I don't think we've seen the same Max Domi that we saw in Arizona when he was terrorizing the Stars, when he was really good with Arizona. And he's not going to get those kind of minutes when he comes here. So that's why I'm extremely hesitant about Max Domi.
I think he'll get the minutes he got in Arizona. Carolina is not fair. He played 20 games in Carolina. I mean, he didn't get played enough for him to get the chance to go up.
Well, he was getting scratched because he wasn't playing well.
He was prematurely scratched, in my opinion. I mean,
that's fair.
He wasn't given a chance to go. And it makes sense for Carolina. He's not getting as much ice time because they were a crazy offense too. But if he's going to get second line minutes, I think that's plenty for him to score. All right. Am I moving on?
Yeah, I think you're moving on. Yeah, move on.
Moving on. This is the super weird one. This one might be like a 1-for-1 deal.
Okay.
Andreas Athanasiou.
So going back to Chicago.
Yeah, back to Chicago. I like Chicago as a trading partner, like I said before, because they got a lot of pieces they have to move. They're blowing it up this year. They're not gonna. I feel like they're not gonna get as good deals. Anyway, moving on. He is like just another Gurianov. He's struggling a little bit this season. He started the season 26 games and only 9 points. But he has all the stuff. He has all the stuff to be a great hockey player. And he's shown it for a while. He showed it in Detroit a lot. And it just, for some reason, hasn't been happening. Sound familiar? Sounds like Gurianov. You saw whenever Nichushkin went away, he just needed a change of scenery. He got the change of scenery, and he was an integral part to a cup run. Maybe the same thing happens with us and Athanasiou. The other thing is he's cheaper. You're not going to get Bork if we take Athanasiou. You're not going to get a crazy pick like that. He costs a lot less. He'll fit under the cap a lot easier. I think you could easily do a 1-for-1 with Gurianov. I think that's a completely fair trade. Maybe Gurianov and a fifth or something like that. Just a honeypot sweetener for the team that wants to rebuild. It's a less risky and you're still doing something move, in my opinion.
I mean, the thing that I'd point out with Athanasiou is that he hasn't played even more than half of his season in like 4 years. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how much you're gonna trust that.
He only has to be healthy for 2/3 of a year.
Yeah, it looks like he can't do that.
And my other thing about this is, don't just do something just to do something, right? Like, if you're going to give up Gurianov at this point, you don't want to just replace him with another Gurianov or just cross your fingers and hope that it's going to work. At least for me, if I'm Jim Nill and I have a really good team right now and the way we're playing, I'm going out and getting a more bigger deal. And I don't think I can never say his last name. Yes, thank you. I can never say his last name. He has a great last name. I just can't say it. But it's not going to be just a 1-for-1. It won't be a 1-for-1 because Chicago is not going to take Gurianov. I can guarantee you that. Just Gurianov. He's 25, and he's at this point looking more like a reclamation project than anything.
So it's
So-
nothing to see you.
Well, right,
Anthony
but
is 28.
it's you got to sweeten the pot for them. It's like if you want Anthony Ciu, you got to sweeten the pot for them and give them a 5th round pick, like
He's
you said,
not
or a
good.
4th round pick.
You're getting at least something. You're getting a chance at this guy who's younger and who could get going on your team, and you could easily resign. We're not going to resign Anthony Ciu. If anything, they need to sweeten it for us.
I don't agree with that. But
I think a 1-for-1 could easily happen with this, or like I said, a late round sweetener.
All right, so since we're kind of talking about Gurianov right now, I want to talk about this because Uri had a tweet about this particular thing. I don't know if y'all saw it, but Uri Kralik, friend of the show, writes for not Blackout Dallas, Defending Big D, and he kind of put this trade forward. What if we traded Gurianov for Jesse Puljujarvi? Now that is one that I think would be a more likely 1-for-1 possibility. Their cap hits are very similar. I think it's a little bit less for Puljujarvi than it is for Gurianov, but they're both struggling immensely. And that would be something I would think would be more likely as a 1-for-1, mostly because Edmonton is in a we want to win the Stanley Cup mode, as are we. And both of these guys need some sort of change of scenery. And the only thing that scares me about this possibility is that Jesse Puljujarvi had the opportunity to play with both Leon Draisaitl and McDavid and still struggled. So that's the part that scares me about him. But if I'm trading Gurianov, that's a player that I would look at more than Anthony Ciu.
This is just a younger and bigger Anthony Ciu.
Yeah.
It's just another one. So why are they doing a 1-for-1 and we're not? And Chicago's not?
Because Chicago's trying to rebuild.
Yeah.
That's my biggest part.
They want draft picks.
You don't rebuild around a 25-year-old. I'm sorry. A struggling 25-year-old, you do not rebuild around. That is maybe a depth person on your team that you want to come up. Like you're not looking at, especially now in today's NHL, you're not looking to build around someone who's 25 who doesn't even have 100 career points yet.
He's not the centerpiece. I'm saying he's a part of it, is my thought.
I just don't think he is. I think he's going to be in the same place that Anthony Ciu is there, and he's kind of living out the rest of his NHL career there. And who knows if he gets re-signed?
This is just Anthony Ciu.
Well, would you make that trade?
Yes.
Gurianov for Puljujarvi?
Yeah, Puljujarvi looks like he's sucking right now, though. He's doing even worse than Anthony Ciu.
Well, he's even doing worse than Gurianov.
Worse than all of them. So
yeah. Well, that was just a random thought that I saw. I don't know. That's not necessarily someone that I was targeting, but I thought that was an interesting idea since we're talking about trading targets and everything. So, Chris, did you have anybody else in particular?
No, just want to say, to sum up, Bo Horvat, definitely the most exciting one. That would be crazy. If I woke up tomorrow and found out we got Bo Horvat, I would lose my mind.
He's going to require a lot of assets. That's the only thing, because he is the big name on the trade market.
I'm starting to think you're right. I think it's definitely going to be Bork if we get him. It's going to be Bork, a second or a first in 24. Maybe both.
I don't know if it's going to be a first. I wouldn't think it's a first. I think Neil would be willing to give up a second, and maybe even a second in this year because he doesn't even have a first this year. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, James, did you have anybody in particular that you had on your list that kind of interested you?
No, I'm not looking at it as in-depthly as y'all are. Honestly, personally, I like the team the way it is now. I know everyone wants to trade because they want to get better. Okay. But I like the way the team is now. I don't know that a trade's going to help us at all in the immediate future.
I'm going to debate you hard on that right now. If Neil doesn't do anything before or during this trade deadline, I will be extremely upset. First of all, we don't know how many years left we have of good/decent Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin. Jamie Benn has had the Renaissance. Obviously, Tyler Seguin is still not playing good. So
he's been okay. He's just not living up to his contract.
They are quickly running out of steam. you have no idea how open this window really is, which I don't think it's that open. I mean, I think next season, worst case scenario, Ben and Sagan are like 20 points each, and then we can like fight for a wild card spot just with our top line.
I'm saying
I think,
next season you're probably bringing in Stankoven and possibly Bork as well into it.
I'm seeing the possibility of losing Pavelski, Jamie Benn falls off a cliff, Tyler Seguin stays off the cliff.
I'm not sure Pavelski comes back in my equation either, honestly. But
he's coming back.
I think that's a lot bigger.
He is 100% coming back for another year. I don't see it. He's not slowing down.
But either way, we're in a spot right now. I would not say we're contenders. I think we are Stanley Cup hopefuls. A good team.
We're a very
Stanley
good
Cup
team.
hopefuls, and your Stanley Cup hopefuls, you have an obvious hole in your lineup. It's so obvious. The right wing right there it's gaping. If you want to win the cup this year, prove you want to win the cup this year, prove to all the guys in the dressing room you want to win the cup this year, that's what you do. You spend a lot of money, you spend a lot of assets, and you get the guy and you say, hey, y'all are winning the Stanley Cup now, or we're going to hurt the team in the future. So I would be upset if we did nothing. Sorry, James.
That's totally fair.
Well, and I really don't see Jim Nill doing anything, to be totally honest with you. I don't think he's going to. But what I'm hoping for is that we can get Bo Horvat, because I think he would fit really well next to Tyler Seguin and Mason Marchment. And the three of those guys together could be a bulldozing second line. That they're all big.
I think he'll do something. I think he'll do something like Puljujärvi or Anthony Ciu. Stay away from the sexy pick is my, if I had to put money on it. Who do I want? Horvat. That's who I want.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a little bit of a left turn here. They're making another left turn. I want to talk about defense for a second. And I know that we've all been talking about forwards, and that's the big rumor that that's what Jim Nill is looking for. But I really think we need an upgrade in defense. And this is a target that I think could improve the Stars because he's been playing better. I'm looking at Arizona, and I'm not looking at Jacob Chychrun. I'm actually looking at Shane Gothisbeer. And it would have to be very interesting to make it work. All right. He has a $4.5 million cap hit, right? But he is not the sexy pick. Jacob Chychrun is the sexy pick, and that's going to cost a lot of assets. If you want another puck-moving defenseman, if you want another John Klingberg that can sort of kind of do the same thing that John Klingberg did, maybe not to the same level, I think he's better defensively, and he's shown that he can be a number one defenseman on a really bad team, and he's done really well. He's actually done really well with the Arizona Coyotes over the past couple of years, and he kind of got banished there after he did really well in Philadelphia, and then he really struggled in Philadelphia. I think we need another puck-moving defenseman, and as good as Lundqvist has been, he's been playing with Miro Heiskanen. And after that, you don't have another puck-moving defenseman. So I really think that would be a very interesting target, much like a Mason Marchment target that could go under the radar that I think could really help the Dallas Stars. Now, again, I don't even think it's going to require Bork, in my opinion. I think that you could maybe even give them a second or a third, and they'll take it. And they may even retain some salary on it.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I like that, Ryan. That's a good idea. I've always liked Gothisbeer. Every time we play Arizona, he always sticks out to me. So I like it. I have nothing.
James, you're having some ifs about it. I'm curious.
Well, I'm just like,
I can read it in your face.
Anyone that we pair with Suter right now is going to look awful, in my opinion. I don't think it matters who Suter is going to play with. I think the other defenseman is going to look bad. So I don't know if we can even fix what we have right now on our defensive side. I think the way we have it now is Lindell and Hockenbaugh have looked good as of recent as a shutdown pair. And you got Heiskanen and Lundqvist are doing pretty good offensively. They had the other night where Heiskanen got 2 and Lundqvist got an assist on 1. That was a great night. And then you have Suter and Miller.
And Miller has been good he's been better as of late.
I
He
think
got scratched for that one
Miller-
random game. So
I think Miller is finally starting to realize that he just has to cover up everything that Suter does wrong, and he's doing it.
I've actually noticed Miller has been shooting the puck a lot more lately, and he's got a bomb of a slap
Dude,
shot. I
he's
don't know
got
if
a
y'all
great
noticed.
slap shot. He should just never give it to Suter. He should just take the slap shot every time.
James has just gone full dark mode on Suter right now, dog. He
I'm
is full
upset at him.
Stars fan crazy against
I
Suter.
am upset at him because of the recent games and the stuff that I've seen in the recent games, where he just kind of leaves the other defender out to dry completely.
Last game was good. He had an assist, 20 minutes of ice time, plus
Yeah,
one, I think.
and the one save he had to make because he got beat really easy around the corner. So I mean, he is
Makes up
still
for it.
not he's still not bad like other people will say, but he definitely does not help his defensive partner out at all. And I don't think anyone he's going to pair with is going to do well.
James got in a Suter hate group chat, I swear. Yeah, just launching the arrows at him.
But Suter needs to be. I almost said Suter needs to be put down. I was like, we're gonna euthanize Suter.
Oh man,
That's a step too far now. Hey,
yeah.
hey.
What I meant was like he needs to be in the bottom pairing. I think he would be okay in a bottom pairing role. And I know he's playing with Miller, and that kind of looks like the third pairing, but he's still getting the minutes more so of like a second pairing defenseman. So I don't know. That's just what I feel like. I think Shane Gothisbehere would be a great addition to the decor.
I think that's a very good idea. I think y'all are too hard on Suter.
I'm not being super hard on Suter. He has not been playing well lately. Has not been playing well.
Assist and +1, and he made a save last night. I thought he had one of his best games last game.
I just don't like the stuff that he does with the puck when he's in his own zone.
And that's fair.
The amount of times that he turns it over is ridiculous for him supposedly not supposed to be doing that anymore.
And the advanced analytics prove that you are right, James.
Since we're talking about defense, let's transition from trade targets. Let's talk about Nils Lundqvist for a split second, and we'll kind of go quick on this because we're getting kind of late here. But has he been worth the draft picks that the Stars have given up? So far this season, what do you think?
I would say this season is a good start. So if you're going to give up a first-round draft pick, you're saying this guy's going to be a part of our organization, not just a rental like we were talking about earlier.
Long-term.
Yeah, this is a long-term play for the Stars, giving up a first. Obviously, it helps us this year, especially recently, but he needs to be good moving on. So really good response to being scratched, and he needs to keep pushing off of this momentum that he's got, roll it through the rest of the season, and then keep it moving on throughout his career in Dallas. Then it will be a success.
I think the biggest thing that we're looking at right now is that we would have had to be playing this season with Harley as that other defenseman. Harley or Hanley was going to be playing there for the whole year. Yeah. And that's just that you're not going to get the same. You're not going to get any impact from them, in my opinion, in terms of what Lundqvist has done already. He hasn't been crazy outstanding like we were hoping he could be instantly, but he is definitely a lot better than the options that we had.
Yeah, most of the time,
very
especially
solid.
Recently, he's been a solid top 4 for sure.
And that was the most exciting thing about him when we traded for him and gave up two draft picks for him, is that Miro is a lefty, he's a righty, they're both young. This is a guy that for a really long time could play on the right side next to Miro Heiskanen, and he could help him out, and Nils could help Miro out, and it could be really interesting. I remember talking about that when we first traded for him, and now we've seen it for a couple of games now, and they've looked great together. So I hope that continues on, and I fully agree with you, James. That's a very good point that you had to have somebody else, because even though Klingberg was really bad defensively, he left a big gaping hole in the decor when he left for Anaheim. So
and Harley and Hanley weren't going to fill it.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
it leaves you with one of the best defensemen in the league, and he has no one to play with.
Right. And his best option was Ryan Suter. So
yeah. That's exactly what would have happened. Oof.
Okay. I think we're ready for our Who Cares segment tonight. James, since you want to go ahead and since you came up with the idea, why don't you go ahead and tell us what the Who Cares segment it is for this evening?
The Who Cares segment is favorite Christmas movies.
Okay, he's
That's
not gonna start it. I'll start it. James, number
No.
3.
Yeah, Chris is the host. I can't start it. Okay. So my number 3, I'm gonna go with the Polar Express. I remember I remember watching it in intermediate school. You go to the school movie, the Polar Express movie, and you get your hot chocolate, and you go sit down and you watch the movie.
And you get
It's
to
nice.
wear your pajamas to school.
Yeah,
and
and
stuff
you
like
get to
that.
wear the pajamas. It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
even
about-
I did
great
that in
fun.
elementary school.
the
great fun.
creepypasta animation was not for me though. It's some scary stuff.
Fair enough.
Okay, Ryan, number 3.
I'll just go ahead. Mine was the same thing. Polar
Ugh.
Express was my number 3. The only thing and I'll go ahead and I'll be critical about the movie. The only thing that I don't like about the movie is that annoying kid with the glasses and yellow pajamas. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
It's like the movie would have been so much better if that kid wasn't in it, right? Or am I just being too critical?
You're wrong. Major plot
I'm
point
wrong?
right there.
Dude,
All
I
right,
hate that kid. He's so
moving
annoying.
on. My number 3. I know for sure y'all have this on y'all's list, and y'all probably gonna be mad that it's so low. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the 2000 Jim Carrey version. Number 3. Very good movie. Hilarious. It is more funny than Elf. You Elf lovers. This one's better. There you go. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Number 3. James, number 2.
My number 2 is The Nightmare Before Christmas, which
Oh,
everyone will say
I
might
forgot
be
about
a
that.
Halloween movie. It is definitely a Christmas movie. It is set around Christmas time. They steal Christmas. It's great. It's Christmas, but
believe
in
I forgot about
Halloween.
that movie.
Great. That's a great movie. I love the music in it too. It's such a great movie.
Yeah, my list is just wrong now. All right, Ryan, number 2.
What's this? What's this? There's magic everywhere. I love that movie as well. I'll go ahead and tell you, it was my number 4. It was my number 4. It just couldn't beat out Polar Express for me.
Ryan's forgetting how this game works.
I'm going backwards. I'm talking about your movie, James. Okay?
Number 2.
Okay, my number 2 is gonna be the How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Jim Carrey version. We with Maddie and Sam tonight, literally a couple hours ago. And even though I've seen it probably about 3 billion times, it still absolutely cracks me up. Just the random things that Jim Carrey adds in there. And if you go in and look at some articles of how much ad lib stuff that he did, ad lib means, just mix it up on the spot. It's absolutely hilarious. So for example, the scene with his dog Sam, and he puts the red nose on him and the antlers on him, and he pretends to be the director. He pretends to be a director. He's like, "You're Rudolph, and nobody likes you." All right, and he was actually mocking the movie How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Ron Howard, when he did that. So just absolutely fantastic. And another one was when he pulls the tablecloth off of the table, like when he's trying to find something to wear to go wear it. When he pulled it off and all the stuff stayed on the table, that wasn't supposed to happen, right? It wasn't supposed to happen in that. It was supposed to fall off. So when he pulled it and all the stuff stayed on and he walked off, him coming back on and then throwing everything, like messing it up and throwing it all over, completely ad-libbed. And it adds an aspect to the movie that's just absolutely hilarious. So that's my number 2. Sorry.
Agreed. My number 2, James kind of spoiled it earlier, but not quite. It's Home Alone, but it's Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. This one is so much better. It's in New York. The scene where the kid is in the hotel room all by himself and he gets the pizza. Oh my goodness. There is no greater luxury. That is the height of luxury, in my opinion, is that scene. And man, just celebrity cameos in that movie too. Fantastic. You gotta love it. Yeah, great. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Dry cleaning his underwear.
Yes, dry cleaning. Exactly.
Right.
All right, James, number 1.
My number 1 is How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah.
I used to not like this movie as a kid because I thought all the faces were creepy. And then just the older I got, I liked it more and more and more. And it's because of how good Jim Carrey is in that movie. He makes that entire movie for me. So
y'all guess in the comments what our family Christmas movie is. All right,
Yeah.
Ryan, number second.
You mean my number first?
Number first, yes.
Number first. And I'm going to go true classic here because I have to. It's A Charlie Brown Christmas. It is one of the most classic Christmas movies of all time. I know it's really short. It's not, I don't even know if it's considered a movie nowadays because it's only 30 minutes. But I mean, I have to watch it every single year. It's I don't know. I love the movie, and it's just a staple in my household. We have to watch it every single year.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, it's not Christmas.
Yeah, you have to watch it. You know what
You have to watch it.
that implies is that it's a snooze fest, that you don't want to watch it. Boring. All right. Number one, I probably should have said that before I'm going to say this one because this is like kind of barely a Christmas movie. Number one is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Oh my goodness, that's not
the best
that is-
Christmas movie of them all. This is a fantastic movie.
What
It
a
is
cop
Christmas
out.
movie. There are so many
No.
Christmassy stuffs. It's all Christmassy. It's super Christmassy in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And just overall a great movie.
Yeah, the
I
final
won
battle
tonight,
scenes
right?
are totally around Christmas time. That makes total sense why it's a Christmas movie.
I win
there-
tonight, right? My list was the best.
James, I
James's
think
list
you
was the
won.
best.
I
James-
think James is winning. Yeah.
James
win.
is the winner. I think I got last just because I put Harry Potter at first, but hey, I'm going to stick by it. I think it's fantastic, and I think it's Christmassy. Makes me feel Christmassy every time I watch it.
What I almost made a joke and like your number one is probably that new Violent Santa movie.
Oh, no.
Can we talk about
Violent-
that for a
I-
second? Like how weird that is?
They
I
made a
can't.
Christmas slasher.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, it doesn't make any sense. And I know that like they're trying to do different things because everybody's done, you know, all many kinds of like Christmas carols and the whole Scrooge thing and all that. And so there have been so many versions of that, and they're trying to do different things. But I mean, like, come on, no, just no.
You're going to talk about new Christmas movies. The new one with Ryan Reynolds and
I haven't
Who's-
seen it yet.
who's the other guy?
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell.
That looks good, but I haven't seen it yet.
I watched it. It was very good. Very
Okay.
much worth watching. I don't think it'll become like a classic, but very good.
What are some other Christmas movies we need to mention that we hadn't talked about?
I don't know. I kept forgetting them. I mean, y'all brought up Charlie Brown. I was like, man, I didn't even think of that. And The Night Before Christmas, that for sure would have been in my top 3 if I had thought of it. Oh,
Well-
I know. Die Hard.
That's what Dad said.
That's kind
tonight.
of like Violent Santa. Or how about Krampus?
Terrible.
Everyone's gonna kill us if we don't say Elf, but I mean we never
Oh, yeah,
really
Elf.
watched
I like
Elf all
Elf.
that
Yeah.
much.
Elf
yeah.
is good. It's not great. I'm gonna say it. Not great. It's only good because Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell's
Yep.
just a funny dude. The
Yep.
movie itself,
It is. Oh, all right. I gotta pull up this one. Amanda would kill me if I didn't talk about it. This is my wife right here, by the way, you guys. Amanda Chambers. She says my favorite is White Christmas, and I think it's Bing Crosby. I hope I get that right. Amanda's gonna kill me if I got that wrong.
The Santa Claus.
Oh,
The best title ever of a movie.
Tim Allen. They should have stopped it after the first one though, because the second one was kind of meh, and then the third one was just like, oh.
Yeah, the other two just aren't canon.
We're talking about the Santa Claus like it's CMCU. It's not canon.
Yes. Number 2 and 3 are not canon.
All right, guys. I think we've kind of dragged this out a little
Boy.
bit. Any
Trade
other movies?
talks are fun. Trade talks, man. That's
Yeah,
what the
we.
blog post is going to be tomorrow.
Yep. And I was actually thinking about writing something about Shane Gotthersberg because I think that would be really interesting for the Stars. But
You can
we'll see.
take
Yep. All right. Any other things we need to mention tonight, you guys?
Nope. Let's
Game
go
tomorrow.
Capitals.
It's a 6 o'clock start. 6
Again.
o'clock.
Let's get the win and let's let Ovechkin get at least one goal so he can tie
Let's
the
let him
record.
get no goals. That way we can win.
Yeah,
I
I'd take
would
a
like
win
to
over the
win.
goals, honestly.
Yep. I guess that's fair. I just want to see history made, and that's still pretty cool. All right. So, anyways, guys, go and check out sarcasticremarksshop.com. For all the latest merch options, leave us a 5-star review anywhere you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube, Twitch, wherever. We'd really appreciate that.
Check out the website. It's super cool.
Chris has been putting up a blog post a day, and I think we're going to be expecting it Thursday and Friday.
For sure.
Yeah, for Thursday and Friday. So we'll be looking forward to those. Maybe some trade target talks and stuff like that.
Content on content. That's what I'm saying, man.
There's going to be a bunch. So, but anyways, along with Chris and along with James, my name is Ryan. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. And we hope you guys have a good, fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you guys are listening. We'll see you tomorrow night against the Capitals. Bye.